This Decon Team Organization course will cover the Incident Command System, or ICS, as it applies to hospital decontamination, and will detail the standard operating guidelines for each role or function in the response. You will learn how critically important good organization is for emergency response, and how an emergency decontamination operation may fit into the larger Hospital Incident Command System, or HICS. Public safety agencies, emergency responders, and hospital personnel use the Incident Command System to make incident management more efficient and objective-oriented. This system was developed in the 1970s to help coordinate large responses and to maximize responder safety and efficiency. Experience showed that an inadequately organized response often led to duplication of effort, while important tasks were overlooked. ICS addresses these problems by using a predictable command structure, specific response objectives, common language, and responder accountability as its cornerstones. Because of its common usage and broad effectiveness, ICS should be used when organizing your emergency decon response. In 2004, Homeland Security Presidential Directive HSPD-5, Management of Domestic Incidents, directed the development and administration of the National Incident Management System, or NIMS. ICS is one component of NIMS, and hospitals are required to be NIMS compliant in order to meet accreditation standards and remain eligible to obtain federal grants. The ICS command structure is flexible and can be expanded or contracted to meet the needs and objectives of an incident. It is made up of functional positions that have specific tasks to complete during the emergency decontamination operation. Each position reports to a supervisor who reports up the command chain, ultimately to the incident commander, who is held accountable for all actions. Accomplishing tasks in the incident command system shifts from individuals to roles. Depending upon the situation, one person may fill many roles or several people may fill one role. The goal is to identify tasks or objectives that need to be accomplished and assign personnel to accomplish them. The system is designed to be flexible and build a response organization right-sized for the event. As a response objective is identified, it is assigned to the appropriate position, or a new functional position is opened to address the need. Another important component of a safe and effective response is standardized procedures. When a first receiver is assigned to a particular role or functional position, they need to have a complete understanding of their responsibilities. Each role should have a corresponding job action sheet and guideline that details in a uniform manner how tasks within each role should be accomplished. These standard operating guidelines, or SOGs, detail the responsibilities of each position and should be reinforced during training. The remainder of this course will identify the key functional positions typically used in an emergency decontamination operation, along with their corresponding SOG. The ICS structure has a designated position responsible for organizing and directing all hazardous material incident response activities, including victim decontamination. This position is the Hazardous Materials Branch Director. Under this director, the Victim Decontamination Unit Leader coordinates the on-site patient decontamination activities related to a hazardous materials incident response. In this training, this position will be referred to as the Decon Unit Leader. This individual typically oversees the emergency decontamination operation, from deciding the type of decon to be performed and initiating the hospital's hazmat code, to terminating the incident and ensuring medical follow-up for team members as necessary. The Decon Unit Leader monitors team safety, assigns responsibilities, and has input in all decisions. In many instances, the Decon Unit Leader is the first team member to thoroughly interview the patient and evaluate available chemical information. It is the Decon Unit Leader's responsibility to initiate the hazmat code, which calls the full decontamination team together. This leader must determine if the hospital has enough internal assets to handle the situation or if outside resources, such as the fire service or a chemical remediation company, are needed. As the Decon team members arrive at the pre-incident staging area, the Decon unit leader will prioritize tasks and assign roles. This prioritization depends heavily on the situation at hand, but often involves equipment setup, donning of PPE, chemical identification, and site security. Documentation is a critical aspect of the emergency decontamination operation, or EDO. During the pre-incident briefing, forms can be utilized to record position assignments and document the chronology of events. Overseeing the safety of the EDO is a challenging task for any one person. In many situations, the Decon unit leader will designate a safety officer whose sole responsibility is staff safety. This individual ensures that Decon personnel are dressed in proper personal protective equipment and are taking appropriate safety precautions. To be effective in this position, the safety officer should also be given the authority to halt any activity that is deemed unsafe. When the EDO is complete, the Decon unit leader gathers all team members for a post-incident debriefing. Once the Decon area is secured for later cleanup, the EDO is terminated. The Decon unit leader supervises at least 5 positions or groups of the emergency decontamination team. The operations team is made up of at least 2 individuals who wear PPE to assist patients through the decontamination process. Team members require training to the hospital first responder operations level, along with additional instruction in decontamination procedures and the use of personal protective equipment. The operations team's first task is to receive instruction from the Decon unit leader on the level of PPE required. Once this information is received, they should have vitals taken and recorded, remove personal effects, and begin hydration. During the donning process, suit support assists the operations team. Once dressed in PPE, the operations team is ready to assist patients through the decontamination process. This assistance may be as little as observing the patient in the shower and handing them a towel, gown, and foot covering when complete. In other situations, the operations team may need to completely wash the victim and provide limited emergency patient care. Their job is to be ready to assist and intervene when necessary. After all patients have exited the area, the operations team polices the area. At a minimum, this includes picking up towels, closing waste containers, and recovering wastewater from the collection pool. Once complete, the operations team members help each other decontaminate their own PPE so they don't contaminate themselves or others during the doffing process. The exact method of decontamination needed will depend on the product and potential for cross-contamination between the patient or patients and Decon team members. Afterward, they should proceed to the doffing area where suit support will help them remove their PPE. The operations team then reports to the emergency department to get post-entry vitals taken and recorded. They then report for the post-incident debriefing before taking a domestic shower. If any contamination is possible on their bodies, they should take a shower first. Suit support's role in the emergency decontamination operation is to gather PPE and assist the operations team in donning and doffing this gear. This is a vital procedure that requires both familiarity and uniformity, and therefore needs to be practiced regularly. Their training, at a minimum, should be skill-specific. Suit support is responsible for monitoring the operations team and may be called upon to assist with post-decon patient handling. They will also help the operations team doff their PPE. Under these circumstances, suit support should be dressed in splash suits with boots, gloves, goggles, and a surgical mask. Once the operations team doffs their PPE, suit support contains it for disposal. Suit support then withdraws to a safe area to remove their PPE, which can be disposed in regular trash. Afterwards, they should report to the Decon unit leader for debriefing. Equipment support gathers decontamination equipment and prepares the Decon area as instructed by the Decon unit leader. The configuration is impacted by the number of victims and their need for assistance through the Decon process. After establishing the Decon corridor, equipment support personnel monitor utilities, oversee wastewater recovery, and assist the Decon unit leader as needed. At the conclusion of the emergency decontamination operation, they should shut down all utilities and report for debriefing. Personnel assigned to this sector should receive skill-specific training. Security is responsible for keeping all non-essential personnel and bystanders away from the Decon area. This is done to avoid additional exposures as well as to help shield the victims from onlookers while they are disrobing. Security also establishes a safe perimeter around the Decon area to allow the movement of personnel and vehicles. If necessary, the security officer should reroute ambulance and other non-affected patient traffic to a secondary entrance. They will maintain security until the Decon area is cleaned and deemed safe. A representative from security, like all team members, will report for debriefing after the EDO. Training is skill-specific and should include familiarity with the incident command model as well as with the various facets of the emergency decontamination operation. The contaminant identification position is responsible for evaluating available information to make determinations on the level of PPE and decontamination required. They should also utilize resources such as the Poison Control Center or WISER to learn about potential signs and symptoms of acute exposure, Decon area cleanup needs, and proper waste disposal requirements. This individual should ideally have a medical, pharmacology, or hazmat background. The individual in the contaminant identification position will report potential exposure signs and symptoms during the debriefing. Training for this position should be skill-specific. The emergency decontamination team is not limited to these positions. As additional tasks are identified, the ICS can be expanded to accommodate those sectors. For example, in multiple casualty situations, a triage and safety officer should be designated as well as a scribe to document all activities. In radiological events, a radiation safety officer should be involved. Over time, the ICS model has developed and become the management backbone of most emergency response organizations, from local to federal agencies, civil service areas, and the private sector. ICS is a core component of the National Incident Management System, or NIMS. The objective of NIMS is to standardize the way all response organizations and hospitals approach incident command, preparedness, resource management, communications, and support technologies. The Hospital Incident Command System, or HICS, is the most common adaptation of the ICS to hospitals. Like Public Safety ICS, HICS utilizes a predictable command structure, common language, and responder accountability as its cornerstone. HICS not only helps hospitals respond efficiently inside the hospital, but also unifies the hospital with outside responders. With the establishment of NIMS, there is only one ICS. As hospitals and agencies continue to adopt the principles and concepts of ICS as established in the NIMS, the incident command system can expand to meet the needs of the response, regardless of the size or number of responders. The key to both NIMS and ICS is a balance between standardization and flexibility. During a hazardous materials incident, a hospital will typically implement their emergency operations plan and activate their Decon team. It is important for you to be aware how your Decon team fits into the overall HICS or other incident management system. ICS is a powerful tool that uses a predictable command structure, common language, and responder accountability to accomplish multiple tasks in a coordinated and efficient manner. Accomplishing tasks in the incident command system shifts from individuals to functional positions. In hospital decontamination, these positions include operations, suit support, equipment support, security, and contaminant identification. The Decon unit leader coordinates and oversees all aspects of on-site patient decontamination and should have the authority and control over the entire decontamination operation. Using ICS allows you to improve communication both internally and externally to minimize confusion and disruption and promotes safety and efficiency during emergency decontamination operations.